All right, let's get into it. Today we're doing things a little differently. It is, after all, a lot of fun, right? It is. Today's Festivus. So forget the tinsel. We're going straight to the airing of grievances, and our target? Oh, it's a big one. The modern administrative state. This bureaucratic funhouse just runs on numbers, statutes, and let's be honest, your quiet compliance. So go on, get the pole from the crawl space. This is going to get interesting. So let's just start with one simple question. The question that if you pull the thread, can unravel the whole system. Can you get a US passport without a social security number? Now, I know what you're thinking. No way. The system is absolutely designed to make you believe that. But what if that's wrong? What if this one question is the red pill? The little glitch in the matrix that reveals the source code running underneath everything. You have to stick with me here because this is the key that unlocks the whole thing. And look, this is not some theory I cooked up. This is a knockout punch from a real-world legal fight. In the case of Abigail Jordan versus Marco Rubio, a federal court just laid it down flat. The government has no compelling interest to demand an SSN when it burdens someone's religious freedom. Now, while this ruling is specific to religious exemptions, it cracks open a much, much bigger question regarding a foundational wall of the administrative state. To really get how a court could come to such a stunning conclusion, we can't just look at today's laws. We have to go back to the source code of the entire American system, the Constitution itself. And we're not just going to read it. We're going to take a linguistic scalpel to its grammar. Because it turns out, the founders left a critical distinction hidden right there in plain sight. This isn't just a piece of paper. This is the entire basis for being a natural-born citizen. So now, let's look at the actual code. Article 2, the part about who can be president. Read it closely with me. No person except a natural-born citizen, or a citizen of the United States. Did you see that? That comma and that tiny but incredibly powerful word, or? Now, ask yourself, why would the founders use that exact phrasing? Why create two distinct categories separated by or if they meant the same thing? The argument is simple. They didn't. They were defining two completely different types of citizenship. Okay, let's break this down because this is the glitch in the matrix right here, found in simple grammar. One side you have the born citizen, status from the soil, jus soli. On the other side, you have the citizen of the United States. Now that little preposition of is everything. It implies membership. You're an employee of a company. You're a member of a club. It suggests a legislative statutory status, a creation of the federal corporation. That or proves that they are two separate legal categories. One is natural, the other is made up. So okay, it's one thing to sit around and dissect 200-year-old grammar. It's a whole other thing to actually use it to win in a modern federal court. That's where this story shifts from abstract theory to a real-world legal weapon. All thanks to a law called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. You'll hear that again called RFRA. This is where we meet David Carmichael, the father behind the Abigail Jordan case. His journey started way back in the Navy, where he had what he calls a Moses burning bush moment. He just couldn't square the government's demand for a universal number with his religious conviction that it was way too close to the number of the beast. So he decided he had to live without it, even if it meant losing his career, his retirement, literally everything. For him, this wasn't some academic debate. This was real. And this brings us to the RFRA test. You can think of it like a powerful legal shield for the individual. It's basically a three-step dance. First, you have to prove you have sincerely held religious belief. Not that hard, really. Second, you have to show that the government's rule puts a substantial burden on that belief. Now, if you can do those two things, this is where the magic happens. The burden of proof completely flips. Suddenly, the government has to prove to you that it has a compelling interest for its rule. The state is no longer king. It actually has to justify itself to the citizens. And let me tell you, this fight was a marathon, not a sprint. Carmichael got kicked out of the Navy for his beliefs all the way back in 1990. The battle for his daughter Abigail's passport started in 2019. It took 5 long years just to get a final victory in 2024. And then in a moment that feels almost like fate, the case lands in front of Judge McFadden, a graduate of Wheaton College. Known for being a school for missionaries, he got it. He saw the case for what it was, a fundamental test of religious freedom versus bureaucratic convenience. And you know what? Freedom won. So if a path to freedom actually exists, if a legal precedent has been set, then what are we really up against? Well, we're fighting an invisible, self-perpetuating system. We are fighting that bureaucratic funhouse, an administrative machine that runs on pure inertia and your quiet assumption that it cannot be challenged. This number, well, it might look familiar in the US Code. It's one of the engines of the administrative state. This statute basically requires states to use social security numbers for all kinds of things, like professional licenses and, crucially, child support enforcement. Critics call this the Title 4D trap. They argue it creates this whole system where federal money incentivizes, and the crucial point is just how deep the system's hooks are in you. The SSN isn't just a number, is it? It's the master key to modern life. Without it, you are locked out of pretty much everything. You can't get a bank account, can't get a driver's license, a job, file your taxes, or even buy stocks. Each of these isn't some law forcing you to have a number, it's just a roadblock. A roadblock that makes life nearly impossible without one. The system controls you by controlling your access to society itself. And you know, this is the twisted genius of the machine. It rarely actually forces you to do anything, it just compels you. It dangles the carrot of convenience, of access, of benefits. It makes compliance the absolute path of least resistance. You know, the 13th Amendment might ban involuntary servitude, but it doesn't say a thing about stopping you from volunteering. The system works because we willingly trade our natural status for a little administrative convenience. So we've got the linguistic key from the Constitution, we've got the legal shield from the RFRA, now it's time for the Festivus feat of strength. This is where we fuse those tools with a philosophy, with a mindset of being totally, completely unconquered, invictus. And this whole struggle, it starts inside of you. It's that feeling of being an outsider. It's the modern-day warrior from Russia's Tom Sawyer, the one who knows his mind is not for rent to any god or government. It's the pain you hear in The Who's behind blue eyes, that feeling that no one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man, the one who has to stand apart from a world that just wants you to conform. And then that internal struggle finds its voice. This is the raw, rebellious energy of pure defiance. This is Twisted Sister, screaming at the top of their lungs, "We're not gonna take it." It's a flat-out rejection of the system's authority. And it's that quiet, steadfast resolve of Tom Petty, just planting his feet and declaring, "I won't back down." This is the moment you stop asking for permission and you start drawing a line in the sand. And this is the endgame. This is the spirit of Tool's Invincible. The warrior struggling to just remain relevant, fighting against time itself to hold his ground. And it's the ultimate snarling declaration of sovereignty you heard in Sid Vicious's punk rock version, My Way, or the Sex Pistols version of My Way. See, the goal isn't just to win one legal battle. It's to preserve an unconquered soul, a spirit that refuses to be categorized, numbered, or owned by the machine's rules. The real solution is a radical shift in how you see yourself. You have to reject the system's jurisdiction over your fundamental status. You are not a case number. You are not a statutory creation. You assert your status as a natural man or woman whose rights came long before the government that was supposed to protect them. And that brings us right to the final thought, the core of Festivus Invictus. The administrative state gets all its power from its ability to track you, to number you, to count every single person. So if you want to remain truly sovereign, if you want to remain unconquered, you must first find a way to be uncounted. Happy Festivus. Now let's wrestle.